knowing and investigating these 9 types is so helpful for marriage because it gives us a roadmap. Not only does the Enneagram behaviorally explain the types, but it also explains them in terms of deep core fears and motivations. So in marriage, when you're locked up in that gridlock that we know couples hit, where we're afraid to talk, dialogue is scary, it's vulnerable, and there's all these little tricks of the trade that each type really does have that gives us this beautiful roadmap.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life in marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. So, if you are new here, you're in for a treat because I have Christa Hardin here, a second-time guest, tackling the Enneagram and marriage. So, like I said, if you're new here, you're in for a treat. And I'm going to actually redirect you to a different episode first in case you're like, what is the Enneagram? Or, oh, I've heard of that, but I don't really understand it. I want you to go check out episode 232 before listening to this, because that's going to help you really follow this episode a lot better and not feel lost about like, why are they saying so many numbers and what is this all about? So go check that out. But for those of you who are my loyal listeners, I love you. And I know you've already listened to episode 232. So you have the foundational knowledge of what the Enneagram is. You probably have an idea of what number you are, what number your spouse is, maybe even your kids. And so I'm so excited, Krista, to have you back to dive into how we can use the Enneagram to help and support and nurture our marriage. So thank you so much for coming back. For those who are new to you, can you please share with them who you are, what you do, where you live, how old your kids are, and how you got started with specializing in Enneagram and really combining that with your expertise in the marriage world?
Thank you so much. You're an amazing host, and I cannot wait to have you on my pod with all of your expertise. And you have let me have a chance already, like you said, on episode 232 to talk about some of the baseline. So there's more there, as you said, but at the heart of it, the Enneagram is a system. Ennea means 9, and then the gram is types. So it's just 9 personality types, all in an interconnected system, because I think most of us know by now that we really do have more than one part of our personality. So although we use numbers 1 through 9, we also have little codes to help us to say, oh, I might be a 1 wing too, or I have types 3 and 6 traits. So feel free to know that about this. That is not something that has to be dogmatically just one type. But knowing and investigating these 9 types is so helpful for marriage because it gives us a roadmap. Not only does the Enneagram behaviorally explain the types, but it also explains them in terms of deep core fears and motivations. So in marriage, when you're locked up in that gridlock that we know couples hit, where we're afraid to talk, dialogue is scary, it's vulnerable, we start to have a little bit of a communication lens when we go, oh, I remember they're a type 5 and they're feeling incompetent right now. And they're feeling like if they talk about it, it might make them not be able to have enough energy and they could get sick. And there's all these little tricks of the trade that each type really does have that gives us this beautiful roadmap. So I've been working with couples for about 20 years, and I started to have kids about that long ago. In fact, my daughter is 20 today, my oldest. And so it's so wonderful to say about a decade ago, our family learned the Enneagram, and it gave us such a beautiful toolbox for our marriage, for our children, because each of us got to see our gifts and also our core fears. And I even noticed, for example, in my husband's birthday card to my daughter today, she's a type 4. They want to be unique and beloved, and heart types, like emotionally laden. And he said, "You are unique and loved just exactly the way you are," in the card. And she's like, "That made me cry, Dad."
Yeah, that's
So
making
no,
me want to cry.
yeah, I know. It was so beautifully done, all in the scope of the Ramona Quimby books, because that's her namesake. Her middle name is Hannah Quimby, after this
Oh.
little character who's very quirky. And it's really meaningful when you can find, oh, she's a quirky person. Or like, I am a 7 and I was at Pure Barre this week and I did my 500 class, and they go, "We love your joy. We love your smile. We love that you always come in with a positive attitude." And I thought, gosh, you don't know my Enneagram type, but that is what a type 7 is. And so each of us, I hope your curiosity is piqued as you listen, that it's helped our marriage, it's helped our family, and lots of others too, right?
Very much so. And for those of you, again, if you are being a rebel and you're like, I'm going to listen to this anyway before I listen to
Yeah.
episode 232, just know that this is not like the horoscope that you used
Right.
to read in teen magazines where you're like, I can relate to all of them. This is just a bunch of nonsense. No,
Right.
actually, while we may have various traits across all 9 types,
Yeah.
what really differs the different types is actually the core motivation and the fears. So if you dig deeper, you'll
Mm-hmm.
understand that, oh, I actually don't relate to that. That's not why I do those things. So
Yeah.
on the surface, it could look like, oh, yeah, we do the same thing. We must be the same number.
Yeah.
No, what drives you to do those things can be very different. And that's what separates whether you're one number or the next. So I just want to throw that out there for any skeptics, because me, like, I get it. As much as I love personality tests and assessments, I do approach them with a healthy sense of skepticism. But this one truly, like, it gets down into the nitty gritty of each person. So I'm so excited to really like take this even deeper into practical uses in the world of marriage. So if you haven't already, go find your type, listen to episode 232. She really like does a really good overview of each type, what drives them, what they're afraid of, what they need. And now we're going to get into, okay, well, now that I know my number and I know my spouse's number, what do I do with this? And so she has this lovely book. I actually bought it. It
So
looks like this if
touched.
you're watching it on YouTube.
Oh
Okay. It's
my gosh.
beautiful. It's such a pretty color.
Oh,
It's called The
yeah.
Enneagram in Marriage. And she has another book coming out too,
Yes.
which is super exciting. So, yeah, like, where do we start here? Like, marriage, it's so complicated. Putting two
Yeah.
people together with vastly different approaches to life, vastly different backgrounds with, our experiences growing up, how we've been conditioned to be. And then there's the Enneagram, right? Like who we are at our core. So I'm just going to let you take the floor here because there's so many different directions. But I think what would be best is to focus it around things that we are heavily impacted by when it comes to marriage, which is
Mm.
conflict, partnership, and connection, right? So do you think that we could tackle those 3 areas?
Oh, I love that. Partnership is so key, and as is everything you mentioned. And I even wanted to name that for those who do struggle a little to say, does this system really get scientific? I love that you stopped and said yes. Dr. Dan Siegel has done a beautiful job of actually giving the first scientific study on it. And many of you know he coined the term the window of tolerance and
Mm-hmm.
many other terms as well. Most of us who are in the parenting world love him. He came on my
Yes.
podcast to talk about this as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so he is a really big fan of getting to these core spaces, as you mentioned. So, in the realm of marriage, I think that it would be great to talk about, like you said, each one of the 9 types and
Mm-hmm.
delve into these places where we know we're going to hit, which is the big one is going to be conflict, but also, like you
Yes.
said, partnership and connection. So,
Yes.
shall we go through them 1 through 9 and do it that way?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So these ones in our world are so good at making sure that every nook and cranny are taken care of. Every T is crossed, every I is dotted. And they do a beautiful job of using that fairness, justice, and deep perfectionism in the world. And we know when we have a surgery done, we want it to be a type 1 doctor. Being a medical provider is a great gift to my husband, who's a 1, because he can see things that other people can't see, the little details. And I hear that across lots of fields: engineering, research, lawyering. There are so many wonderful type 1 teachers. I just met with one yesterday for a session. And the truth is, because they get so uptight with work, and they have to be, and that's just the way they're wired to be good and to do it right and to do put yourself behind, they forget that they get annoyed by the end of the day. And every single one I know pretty much comes home from work with a knot in their stomach from all of the very detailed scrutinizing work. And then they need a reset, a relax. And if the spouse cannot co-regulate them, it's going to be difficult. And second of all, the spouse is not responsible for you if you're a type 1 to do your work for you. So if you're a 1, it's important to know your gift is amazing, but your caution is you can bring the anger that you couldn't share all day at work and the annoyance at coworkers and bosses. You can and often do bring it home to people, and especially the spouse, because ones are often amazing parents who, no, I can't do that to my kid. But lots of them do anyway. And some of them even get physical. I just have had at least 2 or 3 ones tell me that, like, I've gotten physical with my kid. But the spouse often gets a large part of it, or instead of kids. And so it's important that ones know their body work is everything. And just taking care of themselves with a workout is huge. My husband's a 1. He's never laid a hand on me or the kids. I want to name that's not a thing that all ones do. I'm just saying it could get explosive. But he does need me to tell him sometimes when I can remember, hey, you're allowed to get a workout. And that little workout or fun experience, you're allowed to watch a show, you're allowed to take care of you. All of our ones here need to hear that and to do that. And not perfectly, because that's the thing. If they can't do it for a full hour, they might not do it at all. But you've got to start small, even if it's only that you only have time for a walk around the block and a few deep breaths. Get your body releasing some of the pent up anger, and your judgment toward your family will go down and you will feel more rested. So that is so critical for all of our ones out there, as well as checking their hormones to make sure testosterone isn't too high, estrogen isn't too low.
Wow. So they truly benefit from that transition time from work to home life,
Yes.
sounds like.
Yes. And many ones will tell you they don't even transition for a couple days into vacation. My husband was just saying that when we were on our trip, you and I were talking about before we got on. He goes, I need a day or 2 to even unwind. And some ones will tell me, I don't even feel unwound until I'm right about to come back home. But either way, they got their reset. And they need more vacations than the other types because they work so detailed. It's this almost neurotic perfectionism that, as we said, really blesses the world. So you might as well let them have that. And my daughter said, why does dad need so many vacations recently? And I was like, because he's so detailed with this life and death work.
Yeah. But also, who's going to complain about more vacations?
That's what I said. I was like, I'm also not sorry about that because I also work really hard.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. How about type 2s?
So our 2s, yes, Michelle, you're beautiful type. And the type of my besties, I know many of us consider our 2s our best friends because you guys are so intuitively loving and caring and giving and thoughtful of others. And so we just love having our 2s in the world. And they also do, like ones, many caring and helping professions. But sometimes our 2s likewise get taken advantage of even more than ones, because whereas ones come from this strong anger space, 2s have a more positive space. And so you already heard a 1 can be set off so easily in conflict. I'm right. A 2 is much more going to be like, oh, let's keep it keep it light. Let's keep it joyful. I'm sorry. Let me see what I can do to help. Maybe I did something wrong, and be more codependent in that heart space. So in a marriage, it's a really big thing for them to just be direct and say, hey, I'm going to take some courage. I'm going to name what's happening inside of me. I too do get frustrated when I'm the only giver here, or when you're missing my love language and I'm so intentional with yours. And I'm actually going to say it out loud versus manipulating or trying to sidestep and have other people meet my needs or get too busy giving out in the world. Because the two can do that, where they're like, well, you're not really giving me what I need at home. So I'll just keep swelling up pride in the world with how I'm giving, instead of just saying to the spouse, honestly, I need you to give more to me. And then also doing their own self-care, right? Because maybe our spouse is having chronic illness and we can't ask much. But as a two, we could say, you know what, but I can take care of me and I can tell my best friend what I need. And some of our twos do very well with that, or even listening to voicemails from their spouse that they've kept on their phone if their spouse is traveling or something, where they can say, I am loved. I save the messages. I save the cards. I know how to soothe myself, and I'm not going to manipulate to get my needs met. Boy, does that make a spouse of a two feel so good when they do that. Now, I'll give this quick caveat. It is always hard when your spouse starts to do the work because you're not used to it, especially with twos. Their spouses are sort of used to them not calling the shots. So when twos start to wake up, it can be a bit dysregulating at first.
That's very interesting, because definitely in the past, I would not recognize when I'm frustrated about things. I kind of just like, oh, I could excuse different things and say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. And all of a sudden it just like explodes. And then I
Yes.
get really resentful, and it's just like almost seemingly looks like it comes out of nowhere. But I think building my awareness and also just becoming a bigger advocate for myself and owning that I have needs, instead of being like, oh, I'm a needless person, I am totally go with the flow. It's like, actually, I do have needs, and I do get to say that I have needs.
Yeah.
Things have been so much smoother.
Mm.
Whereas in the past, I would think that, oh, expressing my needs makes me difficult and needy. And it's quite the opposite, actually.
Mm.
Like, it's so much better when you can just own that you have certain needs to be met, and it's okay to express that.
Yeah. Oh, I love hearing that. And you told us a little bit on episode 232 about you doing that too. And even like how you'd hit burnout a little bit before. And it makes me
Mm-hmm.
so happy that you've come around and allowed yourself to see, I'm allowed to set boundaries. I'm allowed to ask what is
Yes.
mine to do today. I don't have to do it all. And that also helps your spouse. Sometimes the spouse of a two is bewildered, like, what am I supposed to do? They're always busy. So for you to be giving them time to love you and
Yeah.
saying, now I'm here, you know my needs, let's do this, is a gift to both of you. So I'm so happy you're
Mm-hmm.
doing that.
Yeah. And what about number 3?
So, our threes are really in a conundrum with their beautiful gift of achievement because it keeps them
Mm-hmm.
very busy and they want to do good things in the world and they even encourage others to do good things. Threes do want to be in the center, but they also want to bring others up with them when they're healthy. So, that's a really cool part about our threes. And they love seeing other threes shine. They're like, oh my gosh, you just inspired me to do better. So, if their spouse is similarly wired, they can keep rising up together. But when the spouse is more of a support role, which is often the case with a three, that the three is in the center and the spouse is somewhere hovering around the sides, that spouse, of course, can feel very left out and can feel very much sidelined and even put down by the three. And the three can do that unintentionally, like, well, you're not shining bright, so I don't want you as arm candy. What sort of benefit could you be to me? And look at it from a selfish space. So it's much better when the three can say, you know what, authentically speaking, after the lights come down and it's just us here at home, let's just be authentic. Let's love each other with no makeup or hair or fancy words, and let's just chillax and be. And that is hard for a three, but they need some sort of a transition. They need to figure out what it will be for them. You heard me say to type ones, make sure that they are taking their fitness, and that could be it for threes. But for some threes, they get really competitive with their fitness. So it might even be actually literally just laying down, taking deep breaths. is the transition, putting the phone in the next room, because threes often work all day and all night on their phone and don't sleep very well. That's a very common thing. And when I interviewed people having babies, speaking of motherhood, I noticed that they said everyone who had a type 3 spouse said my 3 spouse is too absent. I mean, across the board. So just being more
Oh.
present. And for the spouse of the 3 to really enunciate and live out, you don't have to work day and night for us. I will spend less money for you to be home, because most of the 3s I know, they are taking care of very bougie family members, to put it mildly, that spouse is spending a ton and the 3 is working hard to make the money. And so they have to work together. Oh, I want more of you. That means you're going to have to make less, or I'm going to have to make more. We're going to have to share the spotlight more in different ways, and even maybe downsize. So those are some very practical things for 3s, is really finding time to be together and to love authentically, so that you don't end up leaving your spouse for a piece of arm candy.
Oh, that's very interesting. My daughter is a 3. She's
Mm-hmm.
definitely very loves to do well and let everybody see that she's doing well, but also she
Mm-hmm.
is a very big supporter of other people, which I'm glad to hear,
Yes.
or glad to notice about her. But I'm
Yes.
gonna have to be mindful of making sure she doesn't feel pressured to be perfect. Every time she's
Right.
I say, practice makes, and she goes, perfect. I'm like, no, 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 no. Practice makes progress, and that's all
Oh,
that matters.
that's
And so that seems
beautiful.
even more relevant for her to really embody going forward. It's no, we're not going for perfection here. We're going for our own idea of what
Oh,
progress is.
I love that. And I think you said that you tell her she's loved no matter what,
Oh,
too. Didn't you say that?
absolutely. Yes.
That's the biggest message. My sister's a 3, and she felt like our father said to her, like she would say, I got an A minus, and he'd say, where's your A plus? All
Oh,
the time.
no.
And so I think that it was like, I got a bachelor's degree, where's your master's? I got a master's, where's your doctorate?
Oh,
Like,
my gosh.
it's sometimes we can already have our personality, I'm learning this, developed, but then our parents can make it either better or worse. And you sound like you're
Yeah.
really intentionally creating a daughter who knows who she is underneath. Unlike a lot
Yes.
of the 3s I work with who don't learn the Enneagram as young, and their parents don't do the work with them, and they're just flailing out there. And that's why that
Oh,
happens with 3s.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't want that for her. I want
Yeah.
her to, really know what she loves, which it seems like achieving something, which is fine,
Yeah.
but
Exactly. That's a gift.
let's just keep it that, not like you're
Yeah.
chasing this carrot that can never be reached, because that would
Mhm.
be a really, I don't know, unhealthy way to live.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And our 3s have to kind of resign and calm themselves, find ways to get calm. So that'll be a big
Mm.
work for anyone who's parenting a 3, is how can I get
She's
my
got big
child calm?
feelings.
Yeah, after disappointments, after even somebody, one of my clients with a 3 recently just had a big promotion, and then they had to say, I'm sad now because I already achieved it. But then they thought it
Oh,
through and they said, I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to wind down.
yes.
So, yeah.
Make it a
So,
thing.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We could do
Yes.
literal episodes on every type. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure.
4s are so beautiful in the way that they go deep. Some of you are 4s out there, and you're just so good at sitting with people, or you have an old soul child who's a 4, like I mentioned my daughter. And it's this complex personality, because in addition to going really deep, they also are a heart type like 2s and 3s. So they can look, does the world love me if I'm not authentic, if I'm not original, if I'm not unique, if everything isn't romantic, is boring okay? And they can struggle to know, how do I work in my marriage after the honeymoon season dies? And I have some 4 clients who are doing that brave work to keep it fun, but also to say, I can be satisfied in my marriage even when it's just normal. And I can find little wonders and joys in the smallest of things, like artistry, even just walking down the street in nature pensively and finding a leaf. You'd be surprised, but when 4s stop to really just wonder at the world, they come back to their marriages refreshed, instead of expecting
Mm.
the marriage is going to meet all my needs. And then in the marriage, outside of just the romanticizing that they're working on not doing as much, it's also important that they allow themselves to own the fact that they can be very push-pull, because unlike our twos, yourself, who are more outwardly focused and let's show love and connection, fours also get super complex with they're introverted a lot of the time. So their spouse is reaching for them, but they're hard to find emotionally because they may be tucked away in a very icy space. And they may be feeling like, I need my time in melancholy because you missed me in some way. And it's much better when you as a four can say, you know what, here's what's happening with me. I'm feeling hurt and it's about us, or sometimes it's not about us. That happened with my four yesterday. She was getting icy. And then she said, I'm doing my work. And I let my sister know that it was actually about my professor who had done something that he didn't like. And I was icy about it. But the whole family can feel it when a type four isn't happy. Such feelings are so big for them. So it's important that if you're a four, you do address it and even just say to your spouse, I need some time in my room for a little while and I'm processing. And if you're a partner of a four, know that to really connect well, you do have to wait because fours need time. And if you're trying to rush a four, it's not going to work. So it's important you say, take your time. I'm right here when you're ready to process with me. If there's anything about me and you, I am here for you. And that is very brave and important, isn't it?
It is. It is. I think just respecting like each other's boundaries and how we process, because some people need less time and some
Yeah.
people
Oh, yeah.
need more time and space, right? Some people are
Mhm.
able to process with you and some people need to process alone. So the more we
Right.
can become aware of what we each need, we can take things less personally and just accept them for who they are.
Yeah, I love that. You nailed it about every marriage right here as we're crossing through the
Mm-hmm.
next types. Because if we're looking at our marriages for, oh, I found your type, now I'm going to make you out of your type, not the case. You're always going to have those good traits of your type, but you can say, let's work on the harder parts together. Let's work on making those harder parts of us better, like using the voice of that four and the two and the three getting authentic and the one getting their body work. So I love that. Now, our fives, and I believe that's your partner, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so our fives are actually not feelings inhibited. Sometimes people think they don't have feelings. They're very deep and sensitive with their feelings, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes because they're more doing inhibited, you don't see them out in the world. They're just thinking about things and their feelings are coming as thoughts to them, but they're still part of who they are. They get sad like anybody else. They get scared like anybody else, angry like anybody else, but they're only going to show that to their safest people. And even with their safest people, they need to know you're not going to overwhelm me. You're not going to make me feel incompetent, because those are the triggering experiences of a five. And again, when I say they're doing inhibited, it can be hard for them to get started on these conversations because they don't know how they're going to land. They can't predict it. And fives love predicting and creating systems. And when we have a relationship, we can't always predict it, right?
I'm laughing because earlier on in our relationship, I quickly learned that he's very strategic about hard conversations. So he will play it in his mind and be like, okay, I need to say it this way so that this person or me, his wife, won't react in a negative way so that it could keep moving in the direction that he wants it to move.
Yeah.
It's so like
It's real.
unhealthy. If it was unhealthy, it would be very calculated in a
Yeah.
manipulative way, but in a
Yes.
healthy way, you can tell that he just wants to get back to what I call like equilibrium, like where we're all
Yeah.
feeling good again and
Yeah.
we're back to normal.
I love
But
that.
yeah, there had to be a lot of conversations about, okay, that's not okay to do in this way, like that's not received well by anyone. So
Yeah, fives need to learn also what it's like to be with their partner's type. And in your case, a two, there's certain things you need. And so
Mhm.
even though they're so good at gathering knowledge in the world, they have to gather the knowledge about their spouse and then learn to integrate that. And once they do, this can be like a puzzle piece. That's why Dan Siegel likes it, because he's like, there is a bit of a science to this. Yes, there's some art form like everything because we're humans, but there's quite a lot of science too. So our fives love that. Okay, so our sixes are also thinkers and strategizers, but what makes them a little different from fives is they really want a lot of face to face, out loud verbal processing about feelings, and they can be very reactive, very naturally and quickly, whereas fives can be, but it takes a long time to get there. Sixes are just much more expressive outwardly about everything. And so if you're married to a six, you hear every thought, every feel, every fear, every little and big. And I think that it's something that they treasure to have a partner who will hear them out. They're like, here's my hear me out. But then there are so many hear me outs that it's really good when a six can either put it into like a strategic worry time, or that they can say, I've got that saved for therapy on the 21st. I'm writing myself a note, taking a deep breath, or especially when they can also verbally process with a friend, a therapist, on a walk and talk with God, however they relate to others so that their spouse doesn't get it all. And even just,
Spread it out.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
lot.
like, yeah, maybe their spouse says, okay, I need 30 minutes when I come home from work. Don't bombard me. And the six is thinking, but if we just get through this, everything will be great soon. And the spouse is like, I don't work like you. Maybe I'm a four and I need time away first, or I'm a five and I need to gather energy first. So sixes, you guys need to learn how to respect your spouse's way of being in the world. And when you're negatively chaining, well, this could go wrong if I wait, or this could go wrong. You also need your deep breaths. You need to do your breath work really long, drawn in and out. You could do the square breathing, just 4 seconds in, 4 second pause, 4 seconds out, 4 second pause, but allow yourself time to gather yourself, because you're already a great planner. And here's the good news. You're going to do a good job on things anyways. If all hell breaks loose, you're going to be saving the day, because sixes have a ton of courage, more than any other type at the end of the day. And they're excellent planners. So very wise. And that's the most interesting thing about sixes, is they think that they need others to tell them what to do, but they're extremely intelligent on their own. So yes, we need community, but you've got to start owning your own gift at taking care of yourself and keeping yourself safe. And for instance, Dr. Dan Siegel, the brilliant person we're talking about today, the neuroscientist who coined so many things in the world, he's a six. Yeah. So they're so smart, but he's like, we can get so neurotic.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if that's my son, because oh my gosh, even in the car today, just driving him to the eye doctor, I swear he asked me, I don't know, 30 to 50 questions. And I'm like, Dylan, I didn't get enough sleep. Can we have a break, please? And he goes, okay. Like, he understands. Like, it's just like a lot. And we have this shirt for him. It has an axolotl. He's obsessed with axolotls, and it says, I axolotl questions. And I'm like, that is 100% my son.
That is cool that you
Lives
have him.
100% in his head.
Yeah. Wow. He sounds like 100% a six. And some people are lucky enough to know their kids type early. And of course, things can shift later. We always leave room for that with kids.
Right.
But like, you already have a good roadmap, and you're already doing it in the car where you're being gentle and kind, but redirecting some of that anxious energy.
Yes.
And he's respecting you because he knows you love him.
Yes. I don't want to squash any of my kids, but also like, I need my own boundaries, because you're going to break me.
Yeah.
I've met my limit. I can't.
Yeah, and that's going to be their spouses one day. It really is.
Yeah.
So I try to prepare my kids, like, if I don't do some of this work with you now, I even now say it now that my daughters are getting older than my son. And I'm like, hey, this is good work for your spouse when you can't take a really kind, loving statement. Like, you're going to have to do that in your marriage. So I want you to take a deep breath, consider it. So I love that you just did that with him. And okay, so our type sevens can also ask a lot of questions, be a lot of energy. That's my type, as you heard. Many of you listening might be sevens where you're like, oh yeah, I'm positive and joyful and have lots of ideas, but maybe follow through is hard for you. And you have a really scared feeling about finishing things because endings can be sad. And that would be why sevens struggle with emotion so much is because sometimes it feels for us like if we feel anything emotion wise too big, then we can just feel like we might not make it in the world. Just like we said with fives, feeling like they can feel overwhelmed. We feel overwhelmed in that same way by experiences of emotion. And it's usually because, of course, somewhere in childhood, we felt like we had to put those away and just get to work and just do our thing. And so you see us as kinetic movers in the world. And if you're married to a fast paced spouse like I am, they love the fact that you're kinetic and they run with you. But it can be too much for both of you, as Wes and I had to learn. And then it was weird for him when I slowed down and got a little healthier because he was like, why aren't you tracking with me? Well, for him, it wasn't a pathology to run that fast. He's a type 1 and he can do a lot and he carries a different strength. But for a thinking type like a 7, when we run too fast, it's not healthy. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. So we have to learn I can be pretty fast, but I need rest. I need to find my own ways of slowing down. And I need to finish things. Even when they're hard, I need to find ways to soothe myself so I can finish things. And in a marriage, that can look like finishing a hard conversation. It can look like staying in a marriage, even when the shiny object syndrome is gone. It can look like knowing how to curtail when you're being too boisterous with someone of the opposite sex and or somebody you're attracted to. There's a lot of ways the 7 exuberance of I never want to stop can keep going. And I even noticed that when I was going to be running with somebody and then they were a 7 and they're like, well, I can't just run 3 miles. I have to run like 40. And I'm like, okay, I see that with a lot of my couples where they're like, where's my 7 spouse? They left the house 4 hours ago and they're out running all day. So it's coming home. It's being present. It's learning you can slow down. You're not going to die. I know it feels like it. But slowing down is a gift for you, and you will find actually more ideation from that place. Your brain will be healthier. You won't be as gluttonous. And I could go on all day, obviously, being a 7, but those are the big things.
Yeah. Sounds like staying present is a challenge
Oh,
for
yeah.
sevens.
It's scary. It's downright terrifying. So I think that when you don't have a way to self-soothe, you have a really big problem as a 7. And most spouses are like, where are you? And so just knowing like, maybe it's okay to have, I don't have an object here with me, but I'm just fidgeting with my hands while we talk a little bit. And just even having that or some sort of a way to self-soothe, even if it's like, oh, I'm taking a deep breath while my counterpart is talking. You need that because you're moving so fast. And there's this fear, if I stop, I won't be okay. So it's also having compassion on the 7 versus thinking that any one of us is doing this to be mean, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right.
So,
So what about 8s?
yeah. So our 8s are super powerful and protectors, but like 7s, they run extremely fast and they have even more energy because it's not just in the head like 7, it's in the body. So they could outrun a 7 all day, usually in most cases. And they can do it while feeling pretty darn good. So as you can imagine, they're running circles around their family and it feels great and it feels good. And they're taking care of business, often making large sums of money, often protecting them really well, and then having an energy for running a whole huge business or even empire. You know, think about all the big empire people in the world who are energized. It's probably type 8s. But often their family feels like we were a corporation and you were over us. And because you were so strong, you barked orders, you said what to do. The world seemed so black and white to you, but you missed the colors, you missed the rest, you missed just being present because you were so future oriented and you could do it so well. And that's hard for the rest of the family. Also, 8s, because of that energy, and honestly, that's such a big gift that can go out into a lusty, passionate way of never enough satisfaction. So sometimes they struggle a little more with like, I want more out of you. I want more out of you sexually or another way passionately in the marriage. And instead of providing it for themselves, they could look to others to bring that to them, or they could be so demanding that their, spouse and their spouse's friends might say, no one gives more than they do to their spouse, but their type 8 spouse is still not satisfied. So you have to really
Mhm.
start loving your spouse if you're an 8, not just in the way of protecting, but like truly listening and coming alongside and championing and supporting their dreams. But also, just like we said with 3s, just being with. And we did say that 7's a bit too, because all 3 of those types are more aggressive, assertive achievers. So you have to really learn, how do I just sit with my family and just be there for them? And I'm not in the spotlight. I'm not leading. I'm just here. It's hard because what 8 struggle with is vulnerability. And that's very vulnerable for them to be, wow, anything could happen because I'm not fully in control. So even if you're listening and you're an 8, just what's 1% change you could make so we don't ask too much of you too soon? That's something I would say to 8s.
Yeah. So my co-parent's an 8 and she's actually married to a 9.
Wow. Yes. Oh, so interesting with the power and the peace.
Yes.
So, our 9s, for
Yes.
those who have not found their type on this episode, you are among many 9s. 9s is, I feel, probably the most common number when I see the
Oh.
purchases I receive. And I've seen this with others who have a lot more research than myself, Truity.com, for instance. And they are really able to exude all the gifts of the 9 types because they're really good listeners. So 9s are very peaceful diplomats. And we know when diplomats are at their best, they're listening to every perspective and resonating. So they're listening. Oh, I resonate with type 1s on being detailed. I resonate with 2s on being givers, and so on and so forth. And the truth is, they really do have a lot of gifts, which is really neat. But their main gift, as Michelle, you said so well earlier, you do need to hone in on what your main gift and struggle are. The main gift in their marriages is to bring a sense of calm and perspective taking and thoughtfulness and fairness. They're also justice fighters like 1s and 8s. But their main weakness would be just listening so hard to everyone else that they would forget for a while their perspective. And I only say for a while because I've worked with so many 9s, and they are very upset on the inside and they don't tell you. And so if they can use their voice, it's going to be a lot of complaining. So get ready for it. But it's so much better than them not saying anything, where it's all getting into literally your body's system. Just like we said to 1s, they have to digest every day through some sort of physical activity because they can so quickly digest everyone else's feelings and thoughts and get very toxic and unhealthy. Or they can be voicing out their justice concerns, kind of like 1s and 8s do. And so that's where my 9 daughter does. My other daughter, she's so good at that now, but she's told me, Mom, you're going to have to get used to me complaining because there's a lot of injustices in the world and I was made for helping them. And so she'll be like, my professor, this is a different daughter, of course, but like this one's like, oh, my professor knocked me off for a grade when we went to travel to New York, but I told her I'd be gone for professional day. And she was helping me with a big performance. And she's my social media person, and her professor knocked her off her grade. And then she fixed it because my daughter spoke up. And now she's fixing it for the rest of the class. And that's what our justice fighting 9s can do when they're at their best. So it's not going to be just peacekeeping, it's peacemaking, it's justice fighting. Did you know that about your friend?
Wow. I did not. I'm sure if I ask my co-parent if he complains a lot to her, she'll
Yeah.
probably agree. But, because I'm not in their marriage,
Yeah.
obviously I don't see all sides of him. I
Yeah.
see the side that he wants us to see, which is
Yeah.
very like upbeat, understanding, there for you, supportive, like the best kind of friend, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm very curious now to ask her, like, okay, because she's very convinced that he's a 9. And I will say, like, I do see that part when it comes to him not wanting to rock the boat or be
Okay.
difficult. He's very, like, he loves to just say, oh, I'm down for anything. But you know that people who say that, there are going to be things that they're not down for, but maybe they're just
Right.
not willing to share that. They just would
Correct.
rather go with what the louder person has to say, or seemingly louder and cares more, right? So
Right.
I'm very curious to have that
Mhm.
conversation with her after this
Ooh.
recording and kind of get some confirmation of like, oh, okay, that's very fascinating. Didn't know that about
Oh,
him.
yes.
But I am very mindful to ask him, well, what do you think are you sure? Like, and I will literally call him out because he told his wife, like, oh, I really want to go golfing, but I have no one to golf with. And she said, well, what about Steven, my husband?
Yeah.
And so she told me that, and I was like, okay. So in front of everybody, like all four of us, I was like, hey, Steven, Brian wants to go golfing with you. Can you go with him? And Brian's like, it's okay if you don't. I was like, no, you want someone to golf with you. And I know that you're just people pleasing and you don't want to ask him and be afraid of him just doing it because he doesn't want to. And I'm just saying he's going to go because he wants to be a good friend. And so, so he was like, okay, thank you.
Oh, I love that. I love that you knew him so well as a two. You're like, I so get you.
Yeah. I'm
You
like, I
used your
get it.
two
Like, you don't need to
gifting.
worry about it.
That is beautiful. And you really gave them that beautiful. Oh my gosh, when spouses can, or friends of, people can give nines their voice and let them have some time to think out what they want to do. It means the world to that nine. And like you said, you alluded to, sometimes occasionally they don't care about something, but they do
Yes.
a lot more than people know. So I'm happy you're going to check
Yeah.
in about that.
Yeah. Okay, we just went through all 9 types, and what I'm taking away is how we can use this truly in our marriage, because if we understand how to best support our spouse, or even just become more aware of what we're needing and what our tendencies can be, that
Yeah.
will really change the landscape of how you interact with each other. Because now things that maybe you found annoying, you're now coming to learn, oh, this is just them. They're not doing it to us. They are just being themselves. And so if I want this partnership to work, I need to take a different perspective as to why they're going about things and take things less personally and know how to approach them differently so that we can still get to ultimately what both of you want, which is more connection, easier conversations, and deeper partnership. And it
Exactly.
truly does come down to, number one, knowing yourself better. And number two, understanding your spouse better and figuring out, okay, knowing that we're different, how can we come together and work with our strengths and be mindful of areas that we can go into unhealthy states so we can pull each other out of it. It really is just like working with each other. Like when one's down, you pull them up. When you're down, your spouse can pull you up, but you can't do that unless you know each other. And
Right.
I
And
love that Enneagram provides language around this, right? Because a
me
lot of
too.
times we can kind of notice something about yourself or your spouse, but you don't know how to articulate it and you just know something doesn't feel right. But now that there's this tool, this Enneagram tool, you can have shared language you can use around this, just like how Krista's whole family uses it, right? Your daughter's like, okay, it's not you, it's because of my professor. That couldn't have happened without that knowledge of herself. She could have
Right.
just been like, I'm angry and take it
Right.
out on everyone. But now she has this understanding like, oh, it's not you, sis. It's my professor. And I'm just going to be icy for a little bit longer. Thanks for
Mhm.
bearing with me. That's going to be
Yes.
a whole lot different than you just, kind of getting unhinged and everyone's like, what's your problem? Why are you taking it out on me?
Right.
That was
It's
very
like
long
that.
winded.
Oh, I'm so glad you got that because that's such a heart type thing of no one understands me. And it's like, we
Yes.
didn't know. We didn't know how to get to you. And so this language of, hey, I'm a big feelings person. I need a little space,
Mm-hmm.
actually, not the original thing feelings types think they need, but even feelings types need a little space to sort things out. Like you
Yep.
said, it's a game changer for our kids. And you mentioned your son. Hey, I'm a security
Mm-hmm.
type. I need safety. I certainly get your son because I am too. And it's like when we take our breaths and we rest a little more and we pause a bit more, we really are okay. And that makes us
Yeah.
feel safer. And so just having these languages or our body types, we said, digesting, taking that energy walk, getting things figured out so that you can come back more gently and not so angry to your family. Like these are really key. And I love that you said it'll be better connection It'll be better partnership because now you each have a gift. You can run, oh my gosh, we have a giver here and also a researcher in your marriage. And we can use those to help others. Like it just blesses everybody. So I love that you gave me this platform today to help people to know, hey, it's like, two elements coming together to form a compound, something new that's never been before. And now they have a gift to share and to shine out with, not just the shadows.
Yeah, because when we don't know each other, we will naturally try and be helpful and suggest things that work for us, but
Yes.
that doesn't necessarily work for the other person. So, for example, my son, he's a thinker, just like my husband, right? But even more so. With his optometrist appointment today, they had to measure the length of his eye because he has myopia. And he was like, what are you guys doing? And he's like getting very anxious about it. And I'm like, okay. Thankfully, the doctor knew, okay, here's this, like, I don't know what you call it. It's like a model of an eye. Okay, we're going to do this. And this is what's going to happen. This is why we're doing it. And you could see that he started to become a little bit easier about what was happening. And we're like, okay, we're going to be right here. And you literally just have to walk them through step by step. So there's no surprises and he knows what to anticipate. And that's what helped us get to that point, because otherwise he would have fought us the whole time and it would have been a disaster. So just knowing that about him, I didn't get frustrated. And I was like, why are you being so difficult? Like, no, he doesn't feel safe right now.
Right.
And so just imagine if you could do that with your spouse and with yourself, if you could just ask for what you need to feel more regulated, because it's all connected, right? It's all about dysregulation and getting back to regulation. Yeah.
Exactly. We basically just talked today about how to get everyone back in their window of tolerance.
Yes.
And I love that it came full circle in that way. Thank you, Michelle.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Krista, for coming back onto this show. I'm sure we'll have you back here talking other things.
Wonderful.
I'm so excited for you, for your new book coming out. And before I forget, happy mom anniversary, because you are now celebrating your birthday, because you gave birth for the first time today, so many years ago. So I want to celebrate you on that, because you did way more work on this day 20 years ago than your daughter did. And it changed your life like so much. And so I just want to celebrate you for all the things that you've gone through and grown through. And
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that means the world, especially coming from another mom, because I know you get it. And I know every listener gets it with us. It's a different level of love that you now have and hold.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you again for being on the show. For those who are new to you, can you please share with them where's the best place to connect with you?
Yes, Enneagram and Marriage.com is a great place to find research, to find pairing guides, my book, my podcast, my coaching services, and even a lot more than that too. So if there are any counselors or coaches listening who want to train with Enneagram and Marriage, I have a certification program. So there's lots of goodies and freebies over there for you, and a little typing guide as well if you sign up for the newsletter. So thank you so much, Michelle. Always such a blast. And then I'm also on Instagram if anyone loves to be over there. And I believe that's where Michelle and I connected to through our social media.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and some men, if you enjoyed this episode, please reach out to Krista. Go connect with her. Go grab all the things from her. I think you'll really enjoy her content. And if you want to dive deeper, buy her book. Okay. Listen to her podcast. If you know someone that is an Enneagram fanatic, send them this episode. Better yet, tag us in your Instagram story so we can give you a shout out. And if you love this show, please leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I would so appreciate it. That's what helps this show grow and helps more people like you find this show and get the help that they need. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks again, Krista, and I'll catch you all back here on the next episode. Bye. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.